Nobody expects the Exposition.
Tonight's main story, a disgrace to the uniform as a senior police officer goes on the run. Lieutenant Frank Mercer, head of the city's controversial high-speed task force, has disappeared after being suspended for alleged corruption. The suspension follows the discovery of leaked documents sent to our very own WFFL news team.
Just call it waffle,
While the
please.
PD has refused to discuss the allegations, this reporter understands that they relate to extortion and large-scale theft in the street racing scene that Mercer was supposed to police. In a statement, the department said, Lieutenant Mercer is aware of his suspension, and we appeal to him to come forward and assist the investigation. In other news...
Getting back to the Rivera family...
This is what you're giving me?
It's a solid vehicle.
I'm not driving this.
After what happened to your last couple cars, you should be grateful.
She's perfect for someone just starting out.
Okay, gonna admit, that one was clever.
Look, I'm in the league. If I show up in this thing, they're gonna laugh me off the road.
You might be big time now. You'll always be my little hija. Mira, venga pa' acá.
Oh, that's
Tranquila,
adorable.
Goodbye.
That thing just refuses to die now, doesn't it? Toretto would be proud.
Seriously?
You're in the league. Show up in this thing, and then, oh, my ribs!
Sorry!
Hey, getting those cars back from Mercer bought you a lot of goodwill in this town. But, still gonna need all the help you can get.
Does that mean you're joining our crew?
Just think about hitting the track. Maybe dusting off some of my old moves.
Nice.
You wanna go for a spin?
Let's go.
Hey, so you two look out for each other. People from all across the state want to race you now. Plenty of other people who are out to stop you. Tougher than ever. So if you're gonna get into trouble,
Don't get caught.
Yo, how's that for a feel-good ending, am I right? Yes, and they all lived happily ever... Wait. No, that's not how it happened at all. It pains me to do this, but I've got to be upfront with y'all. My console did an oopsie, and I lost footage of the final boss fight. And while I blame my Xbox being old and not the game itself being bad, this did mean I had to play the entire game all over again in 2 days. Here's the story of what really happened.
Let's go cause some chaos.
In this race, we have one objective: piss off the cops. Go figure.
Someone give me confirmation on a bunch of HVTs spotted in Eaton Shores. You want confirmation? Listen to that! Shit. Copy. Sending units.
You guys hear that? They're coming.
Okay, Rivera. Might actually be fun. Assholes are running laps outside the station. Making our approach. Let's cut them off.
That's it. Got 'em. Let's lead these suckers where we want.
Any of these cops scratches my ride, I am suing the city.
Target's heading southbound. We're in the chase. Well, that was a waste of everyone's time.
Foreshadowing much? So for anyone wondering, yes, this is a deluxe car, and no, I don't like the look of it at all.
Think you can get your cop friend to ditch the roadblocks for us?
Don't think she likes me after I just refused to hand over that laptop.
Hey, we gave it back, didn't we?
Who wants to close up with the rocket?
I like you, Rivera.
Better hope that thing don't take off.
I would take back all my criticisms if it did that right now.
War's over. It's time to leave.
And with that, we are heading into the final showdown.
Control, we lost those racers around the docks, but we found something else. Forget the chase. This is big. Send all units to my location. Copy.
You two better pray those cars are still there.
Let's all put our feet down and we won't be disappointed. cars are getting away now. We did it!
You really think it's gonna be that easy?
What the hell have we stumbled on here?
Nothing good.
We found one of the task force trying to swim out of here. He's saying Lieutenant Mercer's still on site.
Where?
Oh, you are not serious. The Rockport M3? And why does everybody keep doing that? Come on.
Ain't gonna catch him in that thing.
Maybe not, but we can. Go!
I might have known you two shits were behind this.
Couldn't have you leaving without a send-off!
I'm warning you, drop it.
I don't think so, Lieutenant. We got the car. Now we're getting you.
You think you can stop him?
Officer Torres! That's the plan. Got any objections?
Now you listen to me. He's dangerous. So if you take him out, don't confront him. Leave that to me.
We trust her?
You know any other cops who want to take him down? Exactly.
So, bit of a fun fact, the longer this chase drags on, the sillier it becomes.
You punks are gonna get what's coming.
What's the latest on the chopper? Out of action. Electrical fault. You know, they say the pilot's in with Frank. Add it to the list.
Don't let up!
Can't believe we're just letting a civilian go after him like that.
You see what he was driving?
BMW M3E46.
Whatever it was, we're not catching it. He's long
We're
gone.
not showing this asshole any mercy.
I mean, we could.
Tomorrow's gonna be fun. Oh man, all those punks coming to the station asking for their cars back. And we gotta hand over the keys. Thanks a bunch, Frank.
I can't even. Alright, folks, let's finish this up. There's a joke in here somewhere about BMWs not holding their value. Musings for later. And look, we have some company.
Perfect timing. I need to get out of here fast.
Well now, how the turntables. But face it, we all saw this coming.
You? Torres? Ava? If they take me in, things could go real bad. For both of us.
I agree.
Really?
Today, police ended their search for the former head of the high-speed task force, Frank Mercer. A statement confirmed while a body has yet to be recovered. The former officer is believed to be dead. It's more than a week ago that the disgraced lieutenant attempted to escape police custody with a fleet of stolen high-performance vehicles, and almost succeeded were it not for the actions of a notorious but as yet unnamed street racer who aided in the recovery of the cars, which a subsequent investigation revealed had been illegally impounded in a targeted operation spanning several months. Now, following the scandal, the task force has been swift to address public concerns and appoint a new officer in charge. They made this statement earlier today.
Thank you. For too long, Frank Mercer has used this department for his own benefit. But not anymore. It's time those resources were put back to their proper use, to end street racing. Under Frank Mercer's watch, this crime was allowed to flourish. Under mine, it will end.
Well, folks, there you have it. The true story of Need for Speed Heat. And now that we're finally at the end, I can say what I have wanted to say from the beginning, that this game is an unmitigated disaster. Starting with the obvious, 15 races in the Rivera storyline. 15. You can add 9 more for Dex, Wayne, and Roshni, but this is literally the second shortest Need for Speed game after Most Wanted 2012 in terms of story. In filming this series, it really felt like the amount of cutscene exceeded the amount of actual gameplay footage, and that's a very, very bad situation for a game to put itself in. And although there are dozens of custom courses to race in both day and night, all of them, with the exception of high heat races, are essentially irrelevant because you can just farm the speedway exploit to get any car and its upgrades across the entire game. This game would probably be beatable in about 1 hour if it didn't place mandatory rep requirements on the story events. On my second playthrough, I unlocked the Deluxe Edition Corvette at rank 19. I could have beaten the game immediately if the game had not required me to be rank 30 to do the final event. It all shows a serious lack of forethought by the developers at Ghost Games. And it gets worse. I want to go back to my playthrough of NFS Payback for a moment. At the end of that game, I alluded to how there were so many loose ends which never got tied up. Project Skyhammer, the Arkwright files, as well as whatever the hell happened to Underground Soldier. The reason I was so critical of Roshni in this playthrough is because Ghost Games tried to handwave her inclusion into the plot as being derived from some events in NFS 2015 that, let's be honest, were never mentioned in 2015. Meanwhile, Underground Soldier is still missing in action to this day. It's not like he magically shows up in Unbound, because trust me, I checked. And speaking of Unbound, the biggest issue with the Rivera story, and the element which really became the final nail in the coffin for Need for Speed as a whole, is that all future Need for Speed plots seem to be catering to the entitlement, borderline brain rot generation of gamers. Putting aside that you are technically the main character and the hero per se, we are supposed to be rooting for Anna while being critical of Lucas. That's what the game tries to convince you through the bulk of its cutscenes. Lucas is constantly accused of being a coward, of kowtowing to authority, and all of this other bullshit. Anna, meanwhile, seems to be given a free pass for smashing the classic Camaro, which, let's not forget, Lucas has been putting all of the work into for the entire game. That's not even getting into that Lucas is pro-sanctioned racing, while Anna has no problem saying, screw the police, we're gonna break the law and feel good about doing it. And while Unbound was spearheaded by Criterion and not Ghost Games, now EA Gothenburg, you can bet your ass that the latter devs did play some part in turning Unbound's storyline into just as much of a values dissonance, because there is literally no other explanation for this. Because in Unbound, the antagonist Yaz literally screws over you as the player, as well as your mechanic Rydell, all because she felt underappreciated for the work she did for him, as if that gives her any standing to completely destroy the man's auto shop business. And then the game just expects us to continue on as if we're somehow okay with the premise. It's hilarious to me, and not in a good way, because people in this fandom love to criticize Lena Navarro for her actions in Need for Speed Payback, but at least those actions made sense. Lena was, at her core, a shrewd businesswoman who saw a chance to get out of the barrio and make a life for herself by throwing her hat in with the house. She did this by heisting a Koenigsegg away from Tyler, Mac, and Jess, who, let's be real, were the ones trying to heist that very same car away from Marcus Weir. The reason Tyler works for Marcus at the start of Payback is to atone for, clearly, doing bad and getting caught. There is no expectation of loyalty or camaraderie on Lena's part, because face it, everyone involved is guilty, and they all know it themselves. Everything is played straight with zero hypocrisy. And the same just cannot be said for either NFS Heat or NFS Unbound. But gamers, they just don't care. They can excuse Anna being an entitled Zoomer because that's how they act. They can excuse Yaz essentially bankrupting her former employer because that's how they act. Not to mention that both games really do treat the police as an afterthought, despite trying very, very hard to characterize them as all cops are bad. In Heat, we obviously have Shaw, Torres, and Mercer, all with their own levels of messed up behavior. Trust me, we'll get into that. With Unbound, there's this subplot of the mayor of Lakeshore being in with the cops on a level that borders corruption, but when you face the cops in-game, they are as uninspired and unprofessional as they were in NFS Heat. They come across as complete jokes rather than an actual threat. So yes, let's talk about that with Heat. Mercer is the racist. That is literally his only character trait. The only reason that he physically beats Lucas to within an inch of his life is because of an irrelevant prior record which Mercer feels justifies once a criminal, always a criminal. It is so on the nose that you can't possibly take it seriously. Torres, meanwhile, goes from massive hypocrite taking financial kickbacks to being the true villain after all when she does away with Mercer at the very end. I get how this was done to keep her dialogue in post-game pursuits, but it is still very bad storytelling. The only police character I have some sympathy for is Shaw, because he's not a racist and he's not a hypocrite. The street racer that he nearly kills in the prologue is the same skin color as him, and he's also all in on the bad things he's doing during the storyline. From Shaw's perspective, the entire plot is just a power fantasy to him, but he genuinely could not give a shit about being genuinely corrupt. He is a dumbass, but he is not a true villain per se. All in all, every aspect of this story is a disaster. And yet, gamers honestly don't seem to care. They will basically hand-wave all of this because it's all over so quickly that they don't need to waste any time thinking about it. People like to say that Heat is a good game when it comes down to customizing cars and racing them. And to the game's credit, it is just good enough in that regard. Standard races are no different to what you would find in, say, the Forza Horizon series. But I will argue that the police chases in this game are the worst they have ever been. And the same goes for Unbound, which I even have some semblance of proof of. The reason I push Rivals so vehemently on my channel is because those chases were incredible. Tactics, weapons, alternative win conditions. Whether you played as a racer or as a cop, the game felt exciting and required you to use some semblance of forward planning. In Heat, those weapons are all gone. And not only that, but the special things they added to Payback, like Skyhammer, are gone. Yes, the cops still have kill switches, but you have no real good defense against them. If you use a kill switch jammer, you forfeit the use of other tools, such as the radar disruptor. The lack of an arsenal really screws you over. And Unbound's response to this was literally in Volume 8 to bring over some of the weapons and tactics from Hot Pursuit and Rivals. Oh, but only cops get Pursuit tech, and these editions are all online only, meaning you do not get them in single player. What even is the point? So yeah, this whole thing has killed the series for me. As someone who grew up with the original Hot Pursuit and High Stakes, followed by the progression into Underground, Most Wanted 05, Carbon, and so forth, I can't stand to look at what the series has become. I just can't do it anymore. It all comes down to this. Months ago, I left a comment on another YouTuber's video of Unbound, and I criticized several of these things. The immediate responses that I got were that this game was not made for me. I am an older player, and it is now time for the new generation to get what they want. Apparently, that's just how it is now. What I expected from the series is that it would ultimately grow up as we all did. The storytelling of a game like Rivals is a hell of a lot more nuanced than this. Rivals is a game that, at the very least, owns up to the fact that street racing is wrong, and your willful defiance of the law does have consequences. Zephyr owned up to the consequences. Even Fate owned up to the consequences. But Anna does not, and Yaz sure as hell does not. And whoever the next characters of the next Need for Speed game are, certainly will not. So it's done. It's over. Thanks for playing, I guess. But hey, at least I got some content out of it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next series.